lest anyone accuse us of being too tough on Mr. Biden today, I've invited on my friend, a card-carrying Democrat, Ethan Bearman, very well-known Democrat lawyer. You've seen him on Fox News and lots of TV shows. Ethan, thank you for coming on.
Michael, look, it's if we weren't friends, I wouldn't be here, but here we are, and I always appreciate you inviting me on. I mean that. So it's good to see you today, and I'm glad you're doing well.
Well, thank you for coming on. This is not even a debate. This one, sometimes we do these debate kind of segments. This is not even a debate. This is me in all sincerity, in all sweet little innocence. One, is there still an argument that Democrats can be making for Joe Biden, whether we're talking about Joe Biden as the nominee in 2024, whether we're talking about Joe Biden campaigning for Dems in 2022, whether we're talking about the job Joe Biden is doing? Is there an argument that Democrats can still be making for Joe Biden? And if there is, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you asking the question. And I think that there's a very strong one. First, if you ignore the endless 24-hour drumbeat since the day he was elected from right-wing media, which only speaks negatively of him, let's be clear. He passed the infrastructure bill, $1.2 trillion, got that done that the previous president kept talking about for 4 years. Joe Biden got that done. He got the Burn Pit Act passed. He actually takes care of our military veterans, the largest expansion of VA benefits in over a generation. We have the lowest unemployment rate. So if you're going to use that Reagan quote, people aren't losing their jobs right now for the most part. Of course, there's always limited segments of the economy losing their jobs. 3.6% unemployment rate, lower than the previous president's lowest unemployment rate. Let's add a really huge one into that as well. We had Russia invade an independent, sovereign nation who is an ally we signed a 1994 treaty with called Ukraine. And Biden pulled together the largest coalition in the West since World War II to defend in Europe, to defend against this invasion, to send arms, to train, to send aid. We have been helping our Ukrainian friends. I don't even think we've been helping enough, but that's my own personal opinion. Yeah, there are huge things in Biden's favor. By the way, you missed one key poll in your citation there, Mr. Knowles.
Which poll is that?
There was just a poll done head-to-head, Joe Biden against Ron DeSantis, Joe Biden against Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom, who I know you particularly love to pick on,
Newsolini. Yeah.
DeSantis and Trump, and they both beat Trump and DeSantis.
So despite the approval rating polls, despite the issues polls, you're saying, look, once they go up against these Republicans, especially that dirty, rotten Trump, but DeSantis also, though there have been polls like that New Hampshire poll that came out a couple of weeks ago that puts DeSantis ahead of Joe Biden. But you say, look, you go up against the real Republicans, the Democrats are going to win. I must push back a little bit on Ukraine. Let's not forget that Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, did say that the immediate cause of the war in Ukraine was the easing of sanctions, Western, specifically American sanctions, against Russia and the green lighting of the Nord Stream 2 oil pipeline. Those are Zelensky's words, not mine. That was something that Joe Biden did. He then not only figuratively or in a modest, indirect way invited Putin to invade Ukraine. But then when he was asked, will you react if Putin invades Ukraine, he said that if it were only a minor incursion, he wouldn't do very much, which seems to me to be a direct invitation. Regardless of all that, yes, Biden now is governing after the coronavirus lockdowns, though he did push for some more restrictive measures. They're reopening the economy. Unemployment is low, sure. But surely you have to admit, Ethan, the economy, it's not going well. We've got record high inflation. We've got record high gas prices, record high food prices. It's not going well, right?
So the economy is exceptionally complex. So if we want to discuss certain key data points, look, I was the one that went on Fox News last summer as a Democrat and said Biden is wrong, and his administration, I should say, was wrong to say that inflation was just transitory and it didn't really mean much. So I absolutely agree that inflation is a very serious direct issue to individual Americans and to the economy as a whole. There is absolutely no denying that, and anybody who does, I believe, is either just a pure partisan hack or a liar. And so I never will espouse that statement. So I agree with you that the inflation is. But however, somebody who works with businesses across many sectors as I have, I also worked in the supply chain during the epidemic trying to get products from China as an attorney helping people. And I'm going to just tell you something. The pandemic dramatically, and right now China still has lockdowns going on. And if the overwhelming majority of our products are still coming from China, by the way, manufacturing facility construction under Joe Biden in the United States is up 116%. So that's another victory for Joe Biden that you haven't mentioned. We're bringing manufacturing back under Joe Biden. The carrot and stick approach has worked, and it was Trump who put the tariffs on Chinese products, which directly are paid for by the US consumer. So the pandemic altered the global supply chain. The UK has higher inflation. Countries around the world have higher inflation. Canada has higher inflation than the United States right now. It's not a Joe Biden issue. It's a global issue. And Joe Biden has done things to help the supply chain in the United States by incentivizing manufacturing companies. As I just mentioned, manufacturing is up in the United States. He's helped the ports here on the West Coast to move the products through faster. He did that last summer here at the Port of Long Beach and Port of Los Angeles in particular, which are the major gateways for the East Asian products of which Americans continue to buy. So from that perspective, Joe Biden has actually done a very good job. The reality
Ethan,
is inflation and corporate profits are at record highs. Remember, corporate profits, according to the Wall Street Journal, not a left-leaning publication, are the highest they have been since the early 1960s.
So surely, Ethan, you would have to admit, when we're talking about inflation, you can't have that conversation without energy prices. It would seem pretty clear to me Joe Biden has opposed the expansion of the most reliable sources of American energy. He shut down the oil pipelines. He shut down new oil and gas leases in the United States. Are you saying there's no effect here? Or are you saying that had Biden not had a more open energy policy, and instead of greenlighting pipelines for Russia, he greenlit some pipelines in the United States? Instead of shaking down Iran for oil, he produced oil in the United States. You don't think that would have any effect? I guess we're out of time, but on that point, I would ask this additional question, which is, if everything's going so well for Joe Biden, why are Democrats looking so bad, historically bad, in the generic midterm polls? Why are the Republicans looking at picking up potentially 40 to 60 seats in the House, according to not just the right-wing polls, but the left-wing polls as well? If things are going so well for Biden, why do the people seem to be looking to Republicans in 2022?
Well, first-term midterms are historically bad. They were for Trump as well, after holding all three houses two houses in the executive branch. That is a common problem. And again, if we get a 24-hour drumbeat from most outlets, including social media, remember our top posts on Facebook are right-wing posts from your pal in particular here at the Daily Wire.
Sure. Look, we do, but I have to correct this a little bit. I mean, you're right. We do extremely well on social media, especially on Facebook. But when you're talking about the Daily Wire or Dan Bongino or a couple of other people, compared to ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, it's not even close. The vast, vast majority of social media posts that get traction are left-wing. There are just more of those outlets. So, I mean, if your argument, Ethan, is that the media is overwhelmingly or even close to right-wing, that seems like a difficult argument to make.
It's not. And you made a statement earlier that said that the heads at CNN are so liberal. I actually disagree with you. And I don't believe that is an accurate statement anymore. That might have been an accurate statement a few years ago. I don't believe it is anymore, based on my own knowledge and experience. So we can have that argument separately. And I thank you for inviting me on, Michael. I really do appreciate it. And I love that we have this conversation.
Ethan, you have made the strongest argument for Joe Biden that I have heard. Truly, you have. I think you've laid out all of the... Doesn't exactly persuade me, but I very much appreciate you coming on and making it. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Michael.
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the subscribe button so everyone wading through the wasteland of YouTube knows that we have got the absolute top content out there.